Our story continues. Chapter 1. Mythos. Origins. From the outset, and even before the first fragments of life began to stir, there was light, and there was void. Unrestricted by the confines of time and space, light ebbed and flowed throughout all existence, boundless and formless, like that of a prismatic sea. As it expanded, torrents of energy seemed to dim and fade, leaving behind shards of cold nothingness. These chasms of abyssal darkness eventually coalesced into a new power, the Void, a vampiric entity propelled by the sole purpose of consuming all energy in existence. As one grew, the other devoured. This relationship eventually forced these two entities to converge toward one another, creating a cataclysmic event, one that changed the very fabric of creation, birthing a new realm into existence. This clash of energies continued for time immemorial. Existence itself was breathing new life, a vortex of fire and magic. The universe was born, known as the Great Dark Beyond. As these energies continued to wage war against one another, the most unstable areas became known as the Twisting Nether, an astral dimension where the conflicts of light and void bled through the very foundations of the physical universe. At times, these volatile energies were capable of tearing through the veil of the Great Dark Beyond, warping creation itself. This calamitous emergence also released shards of light and matter throughout all of the Great Dark Beyond, eventually spawning countless worlds and awarding a rise to new life, filled with both wondrous and terrible diversity. The most common to appear were the elemental spirits, like that of fire, water, earth, and air, who reveled in the turmoil and dominion during the early stages of creation. Other entities of far greater power that formed within the clouds of fractured light and holy energies became known as the Naru. These benevolent creatures vowed to spread hope and nurture life itself wherever they could find it within the immeasurable vastness of the cosmos. In far rarer cases, beings of extraordinary power, known as the Titans, were also born in the fiery cores of a small number of worlds. These celestial spirits, otherwise known as world souls, slumbered for ages. Eventually, when the first of their kind awoke, they were mammoth living worlds, cloaked in stardust, mountains and rivers, eyes that glowed like stars. Their bodies shimmered with latent magics. While the Naru set out to safeguard life, these titans set out on an entirely different journey. Engrossed by the mysteries of the cosmos, they sought to find more of their kind throughout the Great Dark Beyond. Their odyssey would eventually alter and shape the very fate of all living things. The Titans and the Ordering of the Cosmos. Aman'Thul was the first of his kind to awaken. The time and reason is unknown, but he knew in his heart that others of his kind must exist. Thus, he began an arduous and lonely journey that eventually bore fruit, discovering other nascent titans slumbering as world souls within the fiery cores of other worlds. He nurtured each of his kin and eventually roused them from their slumber. Each new titan that awoke devoted themselves to Aman'Thul's purpose. He and his siblings later became known as the Pantheon, beings aligned with order and stability who were benign in nature. The Titans held unfathomable power, exuding the latent magics of the cosmos. This understanding of their own immeasurable strength led them to impose a code of self-restraint when it came to any other beings they encountered on their journey while searching for their kin. The process of awakening a world soul, however, took time. It required the Titans to first pacify a world's raging elemental spirits, then shape it by creating mighty mountains, unplumbed seas, and vast skies in preparation to seed it with life. Only then could they search for one of their kind by creating the conditions needed for a world soul to reach maturity, should one exist. Nevertheless, Much of their efforts were to no avail. Regardless of the end result, the Titans vowed to protect any world that they shaped, even if it did not contain a slumbering spirit. They would empower primitive life forms to maintain order and embed titanic machines on the world's surface to assist them in monitoring its evolutionary progress, or excise all life should its path stray too far into chaos, then begin anew. Unfaltering in their goal, even if over time it began to yield fewer and fewer results, they knew they had only explored a minuscule portion of the Great Dark. Unfortunately, at the same time, a malevolent force was also hard at work in the distant reaches of the Great Dark beyond. Members of the Pantheon. Aman'Thul, the High Father of the Pantheon. Sargeras, Defender of the Pantheon. Aggramar, Lieutenant of the Great Sargeras. Eonar, the Lifebinder. Khaz'goroth, Shaper and Forger of Worlds. Norgannon, Keeper of Celestial Magics and Lore. Golganeth, Lord of Skies and Roaring Oceans. The Void Lords and the Birth of the Old Gods. Dark spirits that dwelled within the void since the dawn of the cosmos had long beheld the Pantheon as they roamed the endless Great Dark, journeying from world to world seeking more of their kind. Covetous they were of the Titans and their power, desiring to corrupt one to their will. They struggled to permeate into the physical universe, as it required a great deal of energy, but the fragments that bled through began to warp the unsuspecting denizens of creation. The Titans, however, proved impervious to this corruption altogether. The Void Lords eventually turned their sights toward the more vulnerable, nascent Titan souls that resided in worlds scattered throughout the cosmos. Not knowing which of these worlds contained slumbering Titans, they pulled their powers together, creating small tears in reality, hurling dark malevolent creatures throughout the physical universe of the Great Dark. These dark malignant entities of might and flesh, created by the Void Lords, infected numerous worlds in their blind search for nascent Titans to corrupt. These terrible beings would eventually be known as Old Gods. The knowledge of Void Lords and Old Gods was all still but undiscovered by the Pantheon at this time, knowing only that void energies existed throughout the cosmos. Regardless of this pending revelation, the Pantheon was besieged by another matter entirely. Demons. Creatures born from the twisting nether, enthralled by hate and malice, aiming for nothing less than the annihilation of all life in the universe. The rise of demons. As life in the Great Dark beyond grew, another breathed new life elsewhere. Creatures otherwise known as demons, an amalgamation of life which was the result of light and void energies that seeped together at the borders of the twisting nether. These demons feasted on power, enthralled by the idea of pushing the boundaries of their strength. Many of them drank deep the chaotic energies of the Fel that pervaded the area, warping them further into nightmarish monstrosities. Eventually, many of them found their way through tears in the twisting nether, the repercussions of which led many worlds to fall to ruin, one after another. These chaotic creatures came in a variety of forms. Some were more powerful and intelligent than others. Among them were a subset of greater demons known as the Nathrazim, or Dreadlords as some called them. They were duplicitous and manipulative. Mastering the greater arts of shadow magic, they gained blissful satisfaction in the idea of infiltrating civilization after civilization, turning each nation against one another, creating discord amongst mortals, watching as they crumbled from within, warring against each other, resulting in the eventual corruption of these fallen societies into new, demonic variations. Other greater demons known as Annihilin or Pit Lords took an entirely different approach, butchering and torturing worlds into submission, using lesser demons as tools in their campaign of fear and death. Eventually, the Pantheon learned of these demonic creatures and feared that they would disturb their orderly worlds as they sought to cultivate other titans from slumbering souls, so they dispatched the mightiest of their kin. The noble Sargeras wasted no time and vowed to rid the Great Dark of every ounce of their influence. Sargeras and Aggramar. When considering the aspects of courage and strength, Sargeras was unrivaled amongst his kin, traits he would undoubtedly need for the arduous task ahead. He was drawn to worlds where the veil was thinnest, where the volatile energies of the twisting nether had allowed countless demons to bleed through. He would travel from world to world, attempting to save these besieged lands from countless invading hordes. For time immemorial, Sargeras easily laid waste to countless spawns of these disorganized demons. Eventually, his heart began to weigh heavily on him as he witnessed his foes reduce countless civilizations to ash and twist the inhabitants of each world into aberrations filled with malice and hate. A sense of helplessness and futility washed over him as he continued his mission. He never fathomed that such wickedness could exist in this universe. As he continued what he felt to be a forlorn duty, eventually he came across demons who wielded void energies, and through his investigation, he discovered that the origins of these energies came from an intelligence filled with malice, intent on spreading corruption throughout the cosmos. Although he was deeply disturbed by the discovery of the Void Lords and the thought of what their plans for the universe might be, he took solace in his work and continued to progress in his effort to cleanse the universe of the demonic filth. In spite of this revelation, witnessing the efforts of the Pantheon served to breathe new life and determination into his efforts, as he saw the blooming and ordering of life on every world they touched. Feeling galvanized in his efforts, he now sought to also put a stop to whatever sinister plans the Void Lords might have for all creation. As he continued his war against corruption, he realized that the demons had redoubled their efforts and were now destroying worlds at an even faster pace. It appeared that his labors had only crushed their bodies, but their spirits were reborn in new ones within the twisting nether after their defeat within the physical universe. However, Sargeras was still unaware that in order to truly defeat a demon, the felling must occur within the twisting nether itself, or areas where the volatile energies of the nether were strongest. All he knew at the time was that his efforts were not enough, so the Pantheon sent him another titan to aid in his task, Aggramar. He was inexperienced when it came to battle, but proved to be a quick study. His eagerness earned Sargeras' trust and admiration, and thus he became his most trusted lieutenant. Together, they battled for countless millennia against an ever-increasing slew of demons. With Aggramar's added support, Sargeras now had time to study the twisting nether a bit more. Eventually, he grasped enough of an understanding to figure out a way to contain the demons within a prison he forged within the nether itself. He dubbed this realm Mardom, the Plane of Banishment, an impregnable pocket dimension from which nothing could escape. Now when a demon was vanquished, their spirits would be trapped here for all eternity. Over time, this prison began to overflow and eventually created tears in the physical universe from the twisting nether. The prison had grown so full of demons and fell energy that it appeared to be a verdant star burning in the great dark beyond. Eventually, Sargeras' and Aggramar's efforts brought peace to the cosmos, and demonic incursions became a far rarer occurrence, which in turn helped the worlds that the Titans nurtured to flourish in complexity and in life. The Will of the Void. While the Pantheon continued their search, Sargeras and Aggramar decided it was best to journey separately and continue their hunt for demons, calling on one another only in times of great need. It was during this time that Sargeras felt fear for the first time, when he encountered the true height of enmity enacted by the Void Lords. Gargantuan beings of twisted flesh and nightmarish appendages that radiated cold hatred and malice, found deep within a world he had discovered in an obscure region of the Great Dark. It was here that he met the old gods. It was to Sargeras' horror when he realized that the festering malignance that had spread across the world was also one that had hosted a slumbering soul. However, its dreams were not filled with bliss, but instead harrowing and distressing dreams of malevolence. The dark energies of this world had also attracted several legions of demonic filth. Sargeras wasted no time in capturing several Nathrazim commanders, probing them ruthlessly for more information. It was then that he learned the truth of it all. Should this slumbering titan awaken, it would become an unspeakably dark creature filled with loathing for all creation, a tool driven by the will of the Void Lords, and no power in all of creation, including that of the Pantheon, would be able to stop it. A cold sweat washed through Sargeras' body as he came to the realization that while the Pantheon had been searching for nascent souls, so too had the Void Lords. He couldn't fathom that such a thing was possible, to corrupt such a being so thoroughly, but the proof was laid right before him. His mind was racked with pain and anguish, but a burning anger also filled his soul, and he knew what needed to be done. He knew that the Void Lords must never accomplish their goal, and with that, a mighty cataclysmic slash of his great blade cleaved the world in two. The world thundered and crashed as it exploded violently into fragments, destroying the old gods completely, but also killing the nascent titan as well. His heart weighed heavily on him as he made his way back to the Pantheon and called Aggramar for a gathering of titans. Once all had gathered, Sargeras informed the Pantheon of all the events that had transpired. The other members argued that the actions he had taken were reckless and hasty, feigning confidence in their abilities to have purged the world's soul of corruption, thereby saving it. But they did not see how it truly was. They did not see what he saw. Realizing that perhaps only Aggramar could have grasped what it was that they truly faced, having at least fought demons firsthand, he realized that speaking with the other members of the Pantheon appeared futile. Nevertheless, fierce arguments continued between Sargeras and the rest of the Pantheon. He simply couldn't fathom why the rest of them refused to see the threat before them as he did. If the Void Lords had managed to corrupt one world's soul, what was stopping them from corrupting others? Perhaps they were already too late. At the height of their argument, he expressed that perhaps the only way to truly rid the universe of such malice and corruption was to burn it all away, to scour every last world. Only then could they perhaps stand a chance against the Void Lords and their true goal. To Sargeras, existence itself was flawed, and he believed that only by cleansing the cosmos of any trace of corruption could life perhaps even stand a chance. This last sentiment had gone too far. The Pantheon was horrified by such a suggestion. Even his brother-in-arms, Aggramar, stood against him on this. Feeling despondent and dejected by his own kin, Sargeras stormed away from the other titans. He understood that no matter what he said, they would never see reason, and if the other titans wouldn't help him combat the Void Lords and their corruption, he would simply have to do it himself. This was the last time the Pantheon would consider Sargeras as one of their own.